I'm not gonna hold you. Whole time, once I realize what is happening with this main character, and she already has two kids, and she's debating whether or not she should keep the baby or give it up for adoption. I'm like, was abortion not an option like early on? Because I'm thinking, like, at what point did she realize the third child would not be an easy run? Did abortion not, like, the movie would have been 2 minutes with me, but that wasn't the point of this film. It explored that push and pull, tug of war of the heart and the effects, not only on the mother, but also on the child, of potentially giving your unborn up for adoption versus keeping the baby and not knowing how you will take care of that baby. So I thought that was great. Now, I loved the opening of the monologues of the women, each about their mothers and how their mothers have affected them. And in some cases, with one particular woman, how she received anxiety from her mom and then passed that anxiety down onto her daughter. I was like, that happens. Um, so I love those monologues. Now, obviously, the super funny one, I keep scratching my brains. The super funny one was when, and I knew this was gonna happen. I knew this was gonna happen when everyone that went up was either black or Hispanic, and the last person that goes up is a white girl from Fresno, California. Right when she's about to talk, they cut it off. They cut it off. Go to the next scene. I just knew that was gonna happen. And then the main character says, "Nothing but a rambling ass white to piss me off," and I was just like, that was very funny. Very, very funny choice to make. So, where are the fathers? Where are the men? Like, they were nowhere in the film. Probably intentional, but I just thought that was interesting. I was like, I did not notice a father anywhere in that film. Again, no abortion. Was super confused by that. I was like, was that not like an immediate thought? Because she already has two kids. So I was like, what? Okay. Doechii says something. Oh, this made me question. Now this actually made me question a bit more. Because Doechii was a bit more, her character was more like on the religious, godly side about kids all being gifts and miracles, and you keep the baby no matter what. She says, God, it is our God given right to have our kids. And then I sat with that and I thought, do you want to have them just to have them? Do you want to have them because you have nothing else? And if so, there's no right or wrong, but is that beneficial to everyone involved or selfish? So I just pondered on that because I was like, in a way she is right. Like that is your right. You had the kid, you keep the kid. You're right. That is a human right, I think. But at what cost and why? Because if you just want the kid just because it is yours, but not because you can take care of the kid or you will or you have the ability, capacity, what have you, or because you don't have anything and this is now finally yours. I don't know. I was like, I thought that was a interesting idea to explore there because that's usually a pretty easy argument. If you can't keep the baby, if you can't take care of the baby, don't keep the baby. You can't feed the baby, yeah, then don't have a baby. That's usually like the simple argument. That's kind of what I was making earlier. But then with that approach in mind, the argument's not so simple. Because if you do have a baby, why can't you keep the baby? It's your baby. But now is it selfish or not? I don't know. Not a mother. I'm a dog mom. But that made me question that a little bit more than just simple, if you can't take care of your child or you can't take care of kids, don't have no kids. It was just like, I understand. And in a way, Slightly. I agree. Slightly. I know things are very circumstantial. And in the context of this film, it was. But love the transitions of every scene in the film. It was so beautiful. It was like how one of the scenes were like the blurred lights and then it transitioned over. And then when she was transitioning into the tree or becoming a part of the earth. And I really like that angle to go into because it was almost in a way she was seeking and finding peace and freedom from that, from being in the forest, from feeling more connected to the earth. I like that. I was like, yeah, I wish sometimes I could just go into a forest and lay down and just like sink and then everything will be all right. But you don't want to do that too soon. So, all right. I call these types of films a still. And I call them a still not because that's actually a name for any film described in the industry or the film world, but that's just my personal word because it's very slow pace and it's not super climatic. So I call it a still, kind of like Fences. I called that a still. I was like, oh, this is a still. Like it just, it's not like, it's just more like, call that a still. So to me, this film was a still. And they did include the monologues from the men, which I did like. I was like, ooh, they gave them the perspective of the children that were adopted in their foster care experience. I like that. I like that. I was like, okay, cool. Because now one of the characters was like, maybe I wouldn't even be in this position. He was in jail if I didn't have to go through foster care, if I didn't have to have all those experiences. And maybe he's right or not. Maybe he still would be there based off of different circumstances if he didn't go to foster care, if he stayed with whoever his mother was. I don't know, but it's definitely a thought that I like that they explored. And just acknowledging the difficulty of putting a child up for adoption and feeling guilt. That was chewing at her character, guilt for abandonment, and then the later effects that can have on the child as well. So I like that this film explored that and it showed her ultimately in the end still fighting to be a part of the child's life. So Earth Mama was good. Earth Mama was good. And it opened me up to a different way of seeing women that are pregnant, that are in limbo with whether or not they should or shouldn't keep the child. Because I'm usually just like, yeah, get rid of it. If you're unsure, get rid of it. But this was a little bit different. And I was like, okay, I've never considered it that way. And I like that. Expand my horizons. That's what film is for. And in a way, I feel like there was some unorthodox healing that happens in the dynamic relationships that we seen described from the women in their monologues, or at least that's what I felt. I felt like even though they're not necessarily connected continuously or even physically with their mother presently because of whatever reason, it was addiction or something, or they had some sort of mental strife, um, them letting go, and also the space that was created for all of them to speak about that created some sort of unorthodox healing to me. I feel it does. So, Earth Mama was good. All right. See you guys on the next one. Bye.